And the recording goes on. Hi, everyone. Yeah, this week we want to talk a little bit about the Keptn 0.71 release that we pushed out this week. And actually the features have been presented the last couple of meetings, but still let me show you a brief summary of what the new patch release of 0.7 contains. First of all, it provides more flexibility in installing Keptn and operating Keptn. For example, the Keptn install command has now a new flag, which is the ---- namespace flag, and this allows you to install Keptn in a certain Kubernetes namespace. It's a great door opener for a couple of use cases. Think about a scenario where you have one cluster, but you need multiple Keptn installations, for example, one for a team, and then you have now the flexibility and possibility to install Keptn in a dedicated namespace. Next to that, Keptn can also now be upgraded using the Keptn upgrade command. This is a one-liner you have to enter in your command line, and this command takes care of upgrading your Keptn 0.7 to an 0.71. From a technical point of view, it's actually a Helm upgrade that this command executes, but it's still very convenient and a nice way to getting updates of Keptn. Then also from a perspective of operating Keptn and installing Keptn, you can now set a root context for your endpoint. This is necessary in case you install Keptn next to another application and you would then share the same root at the endpoint. And for customizing your API endpoint, you have now the possibility to add a prefix to your Keptn endpoint depending on how you want to separate two applications from each other. Well, then we announced two new CLI commands. The first one is a Keptn delete service. Yeah, the community was asking for this feature now for a while, and it's now available and here, and you can simply delete a service after onboarding or creating one, and this one will get rid of all the artifacts that are stored in your Git repository. But be aware that we don't delete the events in the MongoDB because going forward, we need to think about, or going forward, there will be an event store that does not allow us to delete events, and there we will need to find another way to get rid of those. Then next to deleting services, we also have a new Keptn get events command, and this one allows you to fetch events from Keptn depending on or with a certain type. You just specify the name or the event type, and then this command retrieves all the events from the Keptn store. Then also please check out the UX improvements in the bridge. They are awesome. They allow you now to have more features in the environment screen, and it's really convenient now to use the environment screen and to go directly to a failed quality gate, to a ongoing remediation, or to the step of approving a deployment. And last but not least, many thanks to Mark. He provided us a great tutorial for running Keptn on an OpenShift 4.4 cluster. He did all the work. I was just doing a final test. I took his tutorial and executed that one on my machine, and it worked out really, really smooth. Mark also provided us two artifacts. The first one is the tutorial itself. Please feel free to check that one out and to install Keptn on your OpenShift 4.5 cluster or 4.4. And he also provides a YouTube video where he shows a short video on how to automate everything around the OpenShift setup. All right, yeah. 0.71 is out the door, just take the upgrade command and get your Keptn 0.7 lifted up. Cool. Then, like always, when you want to join us on the CNCF Slack channel, please click here. This one forwards you to the CNCF Slack. And there's also a mechanism that you can sign up for a Keptn mailing list, and then you will receive an email every Monday morning. And when you want to get started with implementing your first Keptn feature, then please check out the list of good first issues. They are provided or are shown here at this website, the goodfirstissue.dev website, and just select one of those issues, post your GitHub account, and then we will assign you to the issue and you are ready to get your work done. All right, then let's jump directly to the issues that have been implemented this week. And this means that I will hand over to Florian now.
All right, thank you. Let's get started. So you should see my screen now. Okay, today I want to show you two points that we've worked on this week. So the first one considers the cloud events we are using in Keptn. So in the previous versions, including 0.71 of Keptn, we have used CloudEvents 0.2. And now it's time to upgrade to the version 1.0 of the CloudEvents spec, because that has been available for quite some time now. Now is the right time to upgrade to that. And yeah, so basically what we've done here is we have updated the Keptn Go utils and added a new sub module or subfolder within the library. So now if you go to API lib, you will find a folder called version 0.2.0. And within that folder, we are using the CloudEvents 1.0 standard, which means that we're using a CloudEvents SDK Go in version 2.2.0. And here again, we provide this Keptn handler struct that's a convenient way to create this handler object based on an incoming Keptn cloud event. And that will allow you to send cloud events back to the Keptn control pane. And it also, as in the previous version, provides a retry mechanism in case the first request to the event broker fails. And actually, speaking of the event broker, we got rid of that because the only responsibility of that one was it accepted cloud events over an HTTP endpoint. And when it received one of those, it forwarded it to the nuts server. And what we've done in this pull request is we have moved this function into the distributor. And now the distributor will directly send incoming cloud events either to the NUT server within the cluster, or if it's running, if the distributor and its correlating execution plane service are running outside of the cluster, it can be configured to send the event to the Keptn API over HTTP. And that also allows us to run Keptn execution plane services outside of the cluster where Keptn is installed. All right, and yeah, the next point is related to the Lighthouse-service and the jmeter-service. So if you recall the last few community meetings, we have shown the shipyard controller a couple of times already, as it was developed further and further. And now, since it has the full capability of going through a task sequence of a shipyard, in sending out triggered events, waiting for the correlating started and finished events to come in and then trigger the next task sequence. It's now time, of course, to adapt all the execution plane services, like, for example, the Helm service, Lighthouse-service, jmeter-service, etc., to be able to use those triggered, started, and finished events. And we have already done that for the jmeter-service and for the Lighthouse-service. So yeah, here are the two correlating issues for that. And pull requests, of course, you're always welcome to look at the code. And yeah, and also, of course, we've updated the GoUtils dependency in those services in order to use the CloudEvents 1.0. Okay, yeah, maybe one more point relating the update to CloudEvents 1.0. So in the next Keptn version, 0.8, we're going to use that specification of the CloudEvents, and that means that if you wrote an execution plane service that sends events back to Keptn, you will also need to upgrade the GoUtils or the CloudEvents SDK that you're using in order to send back 1.0 CloudEvents.
Quick question, is there maybe a documentation with a migration path from the last version of the CloudEvents to this version to CloudEvents for our Keptn Contrib and Keptn Sandbox services?
Not yet, but of course for the GoUtils, which is the preferred and recommended way, at least for services written in Go, of course, to send back CloudEvents, we can, of course, provide a documentation on how to use the appropriate functions and structs to send back events.
Okay, but so essentially just upgrade GoUtils and use the stuff from there.
Yeah, use the stuff in the V020 subdirectory.
But if I remember correctly, we've also an issue in the backlog which exactly describes this developer path, how to upgrade. Yeah.
Sure. Mm-hmm. It's in the backlog, and we will pull it in.
All right. If there are no further questions, I will hand over to Johannes.
Yeah, I have two issues I want to talk about. The first one is Keptn OpenShift 4.4. Yeah, as I already mentioned, I tested out the tutorial provided by Mark. Let me just open it to show you what I'm talking about. Yeah, Mark did that proactively. He's experienced in setting up an OpenShift cluster, and so he also provided us these instructions, and I just took them and executed all those steps step by step, and at the end everything worked fine, so that we are also now supporting OpenShift 4.4. But based on this issue, I derived an integration test which will be implemented going forward in the next couple of weeks, so that we also have OpenShift as part of our integration tests, which will be executed every night. All right. And then the second issue I was working on was in regard to our CII patch. And there we had to answer two security requirements. First of all, what's the CII patch? You will find that, gentlemen, when you go to Keptn. And on the main repo, there is this patch, CII best practices. Here you can see that we have already 95% and are still missing 5%. When you go there, you find a short description, of what it is about. Yeah, it's the core infrastructure initiative patch, and it kind of provides requirements or a list of requirements that you as an open source project have to fulfill, like for example, standards and best practices for reporting issues, new features, or vulnerabilities, and so on. Then there are also best practices for ensuring a high quality standard. Let's see here, you have, for example, to define how you build your system, how you automate, how you test your system, or how you test new functionality, and so on. And the missing piece, and that is currently under investigation from our side, is in regard to security. Here we have 3 requirements to fulfill and to answer. And yeah, I did kind of research on those 3 requirements, and I came up with recommendations and with tasks that we need to implement to also get those 3 requirements fulfilled.
Yeah, most importantly, it's not just a requirement for the CII badge. Most of these things actually make sense to look into, and you can actually find some, well, not weaknesses, but you can find room for improvement.
True.
And, yeah.
And we did not identify a vulnerability, but as you said, there's always room for improvements, and that's the case in this situation. And let me just go to the issue. It's here. What I came up with is a recommendation that, first of all, we need to provide a master key that has a length of 256 bits. And based on this master key, we then can derive other session keys or the API key and so on. This is the first task that we have to implement. And the second one is that we should take a look at other open source projects, how they store their credentials. Right now, we store them in a Kubernetes secret, but let's have a look, let's have an outreach, how other projects are doing that, so that we can then figure out what's the best way to deal with credentials inside the cluster. All right, yeah, this was this task. And as I said, I derived 2 follow-up tasks that we will now discuss in this backlog refinement and yeah, next step. But before we go there, and since we have a couple of new folks joining this meeting, I want to point out that the roadmap of Keptn is always provided here. When you go to Keptn, then you can see that there is, sorry, you go to the organization, here is a project, and here is a roadmap. And this roadmap shows you what we are currently working on. And right now we are working on Shipyard in version 0.2, as Florian already mentioned, and this is the Shipyard controller from a technical perspective and a new Shipyard format from an end user perspective. And please feel free to also read this Keptn enhancement proposal, because this is the written document that explains what these new features are about. And also feel free to provide a comment there, to ask questions on this enhancement proposal, so that there is an ongoing discussion. And this is also the place where questions are very welcome, and we will take care of getting answers to open questions. All right, yeah, currently it's KEP 0.6 we are working on, and just check it out. Then let's go to the items that are currently in progress. Therefore, I'm jumping over to this panel. And I'm just asking Florian, the Shipyard controller is already part of the Travis CI?
It is, yeah. So it's being built now.
Okay, cool. Then I will move this issue over to the done column. And let's go to the in progress. This one is related to the bridge. There, Keptn user identified a bug.
That's a bug, yes. And I'm investigating on that one. So it's he used the tutorial from version 060, but
Okay.
used Keptn version 071.
Mhm.
So I will have to test the tutorial with the latest version and check if there is maybe some problems with that.
All right. Okay, but cool that you are already working on that issue. Then the second one is Annexify the Keptn bridge.
Yeah, that's also bridge related. It's actually a refactoring task, which took me to some reading and also doing some tutorials first. So this is ongoing, in progress, and I'm looking forward to finish that one soon, hopefully this week.
Cool. Great. Then Andreas, you're working on the Helm service also to make it shipyard aware of the new shipyard controller.
Right. So basically, the Helm service will then understand deployment triggered and release triggered events. And by this, we are splitting basically the deployment from the release step. And I have to do these issues together. So
In combination with that one.
and I will, probably finish this next week.
Cool. Then here we have documentation enhancement.
Yeah, this is, as the title says, a description of how you can back up and restore your project-related data in your Keptn installation. This is the PR has already been filed, so it's currently being reviewed. I think Christian ran into some hiccups, but I've already corrected those, and now it should be working fine. So basically here we have the instructions for both versions 062 and for 07.
Okay. And Florian, I also created a develop folder for the 0.8 version of Keptn. Can you please also add your instructions to the new folder?
Yep, already done.
Perfect. Thanks a lot. Okay, then unfortunately we don't have Christian on this call, but he's working on getting rid of the installation step in the Prometheus service. Hopefully he can join next week. And we have still this issue in the backlog or here in the progress column. Andreas, do you need some more time or should we close it? Or what's your idea on this issue?
The idea of this issue is, so basically we do not have a classical spec for tests finished events anymore. We have, or we need specifications for the Helm service, for the jmeter-service, and for all these external Keptn services, which specify the required fields in order to do the operation. And each of the services then has to double check whether all this information is available or not. So a classical spec is not necessary now. Maybe let's pull this back into the backlog, and as soon as we are there, we can address this.
Okay. Got it. Let's move it there. Okay, then we can jump over to the issues that are already assigned and committed. Christian, are you still okay working on that one?
It's just one question, actually two. Seeing that we have milestone 072 right now, I believe we should reschedule this issue for 072. And the second one is, so I can easily set the API token to 256-bit. That's a minor change. It's a one-liner or maybe two-liner. But do we want to go forward having 2 secrets or 2 tokens, like a master secret for the call cluster and then a derived API token? Is this the way we want to go forward right now? Or do we want to stay with 1 token and wait until we have a proper user authentication? Because once we have a user authentication, we don't have a fixed API token anyway. Because I know one of the weaknesses described in the CII badge is that the API token must not be the secret token, as far as I can remember.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, Andreas?
Yeah, can we discuss this on the issue? Because I don't know yet the answer. And maybe I have to think about it first.
All right, I'll add it to the issue and then we'll discuss it there.
Cool.
Okay. Then the second one is about the HTTP interceptor. Ermin, short update?
Yeah, that's an open task still in the bridge. Yeah, just to provide an HTTP interceptor, and if some HTTP calls should fail, yeah, just to show an error message to the user. Because currently there is nothing happening. So if for some case during the bridge, having the bridge opened, some errors happen, yeah, the user is not informed. So yeah, that should, yeah, that's a minor one actually, but we'll do it.
Perfect. All right. Then the next one is a good first issue, and to that one, Supratik assigned himself, and yeah, we're always happy for new contributors, and we're looking forward to see a implementation of this feature. Thanks a lot for yeah, joining the community and getting involved into the feature implementation. All right, yeah, then Jürgen is also not in this call today, but he assigned himself to this issue. He wants to do the outreach to the other projects, and we'll figure out how those projects are storing their credentials, so that we also have an answer to this requirement, CII page requirement. All right, then let me move that one a little bit further down. And let me come to the new issues that are in the backlog. The first one is about the Lighthouse-service. And the situation is the following. We have a couple of Keptn users out there that build really great automation around Keptn, and they create a lot of projects for Keptn. And what happens is that when they do that, they also create a config map that stores the SLI provider for this project. But in a typical setup, you just have one SLI provider. And that's the reason why we want to have this improvement where the Lighthouse-service takes a default config map, and this default config map contains the default SLI provider. And when there is no project-specific config map, then we have to fall back to the default one. And so we don't need all those project-specific config maps in a Keptn installation. Does it make sense? Is it clear to everyone? All right. Who wants to work on that one the next week?
I'll take that one.
Right. Florian, thanks. Christian, any questions?
No, nothing.
Okay. Then the second issue is also related to the Lighthouse-service, because its current behavior is that it stops sending out the get SLI event when there is no SLO file for this service. And we want to change the behavior a little bit so that the Lighthouse service always sends out and get SLI, because we also have a use case where there is a very smart SLI provider that can fetch the SLO and SLI from another artifact, and this SLI provider will then provide the SLOs and SLIs on the fly. And for getting this use case implemented, we need the Lighthouse service to send out the get SLI event, regardless of the SLO file. Okay, who is up for that one?
I'll do it.
Florian takes it. Thanks a lot. Okay, yeah, with the new feature in the Keptn's bridge that now allows a Keptn user to get the Keptn API token and the Keptn auth command, there was also the feature request to get a download link to the Keptn CLI, just for more convenience and for also supporting or for helping users that are mostly used to the user interface or to the Keptn's bridge. We want to add this link there, and this link should be customizable, meaning that there should be a environment variable that allows you to configure this link.
I'll actually like to do it unless, I mean, if you go first. But
no, I would be happy to have some contribution to the bridge.
Yeah, I'd like to take a look at bridge again. Like, it's been a while now, so.
Okay, then should I assign both of you? Who wants to go first?
I'm fine. I have some. Yeah.
Okay, well, assign to Christian.
I can still move it back if I fail.
Christian, can you make this download link configurable in the values file of our Helm installer, please?
I'll take a look. Yeah, if you can comment it on the issue so I don't forget it.
Yeah, I will do. Sure.
Thanks.
And then there is the second bridge-related feature, which is about disabling the diversion check. Yeah, because there are a couple of use cases and scenarios where the bridge is isolated from the outside world, and then this check does not make sense because there can't be an outreach to the file that contains the information. And there was also a feature request coming in regarding the Keptn API token and the Keptn auth token, or the Keptn auth command, because there was a demo setup which was shared amongst a couple of people, and yeah, with this new feature, all of the people that had access to the bridge also were able to authenticate to the Keptn endpoint, and this should be not the case. And for that, I want a feature flag that allows us to enable and disable also this part of the user menu. Are there questions or concerns regarding this feature?
No, sounds good. You can assign that one to me. Actually, as we discussed the feature flag for the version check, I also wanted to introduce the idea that we could also hide the Keptn API token and auth command with another flag. So yeah.
Perfect. All right, yeah, then another one. This is not that much related to the Keptn core, it's more related to a Keptn contrib service. It's for the Dynatrace SLI service, because this service has the capability to take a look at the Dynatrace dashboard and then extract the SLOs and SLIs from this dashboard. And a couple of users were asking whether we can provide some help to create this dashboard. And with this feature or with this issue, I propose, or I propose to specify a curl command for the Dynatrace API that will then create the dashboard as it's shown in this tenant. And you can also find some supporting material right here in this YouTube video where a Keptn user is using this new feature and shows how it works and how it ties together. The dashboard itself should contain just 3 metrics: the response time, the failure rate, and the throughput for all services that are managed by the monitoring solution. Yeah, and the definition of done is that when I execute this curl command, that I have my dashboard in Dynatrace. All right. Who wants to work on that one? It's not that much coding, more.
Actually, we could also ask Graben Andy whether he would be available to do this.
That's a good point.
Because this is actually documentation for his feature he has implemented.
That's true. Let me ask Andy. That's true. Let's move that one a little bit up. The next one. And this one is related to the Dynatrace-service, because right now the Dynatrace-service does a couple of changes in a Dynatrace environment. It adds, for example, tagging rules. It adds a problem notification and management zones and so on. And we should make it customizable so that we can turn on or off certain features. And in this issue, for these 5 features, environment variable should be provided that allows us to turn off or turn on the capability. All right, yep.
I can do it.
Okay, thanks a lot, Andreas. All right, then let me, okay, we discussed the bridge features, then the improvements, and then we are back to the Keptn, to the Cap 0.6, which we have here one issue. All right, yeah, that the configuration service includes the git commit when it gets a resource from the, no, what?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
When we query a resource from the configuration service, we should also send back the git commit ID, which is in our case always the git commit of the head. But we can then use this information, for example, in the bridge.
Right, yep. So that then we can have a link from the bridge to the actual git commit, and so we help out users finding the right resource. But there's still the open research question whether we can provide a generic format for the URL, for the Git URL. This is also part of that issue. In case it's not possible, we just return a key value map that contains the upstream URL, then the git commit, the branch, and the file URL. But actually, we have the URI. Okay. Florian, are you working on that one?
Yeah.
Oops. Florian. Perfect. Well, I still have a couple of more issues here in the backlog. Has someone time left to work on an issue? When here we have an automation step where we want to create automatic PRs when there is a change in the Kubernetes utils library, very similar to what we do with the Go utils package and repository.
Yeah, I can take that one. I think I have enough time left.
Thank you very much, Florian. Oh, that's the wrong one. All right. And here is a bridge related issue. Actually, it's more like a research task where we want to figure out how we can break apart the project board, which is the main page right now, and how or which components we can extract from this page. All right, yeah.
Yeah, you can assign that one to me since I also reported it. Yeah, the idea is to get more structure into this project board and split down into smaller components.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
But this is first of all an investigation or evaluation task, which components should be defined.
Mm-hmm. All right. And then here I still have another one that is related to the bridge, because there was the proposal or the idea to provide the Git upstream URL right here in the UI. Well, the UI has changed a little bit, and it's not that one anymore. But what we have now are the project tiles, and I would like to add the Git upstream URL of a project right here. Well, when you go to the project page, you find your project, and then you should also get a link to the Git upstream in case it's set. In case it's not, then just provide a hint and explain the user how to configure a Git upstream. I was also going one step further and thought about adding a form, a very small form to this tile, where you can then define your Git URL, your Git user, and Git password. But for the scope of this issue, let's stay focused on just providing the URL here. And because I also have to figure out whether we need an additional settings page that would allow us to configure and to customize more settings, especially in regard to a project and so on. This should not be implemented in this issue. I just left it here for the sake of documentation, but please stay focused on just getting the URL right here. That's pretty much the task to do. Who wants to touch the bridge again?
That would be also a good first issue, but yeah, you can assign it to me. I will do it.
That's a valid point. Yeah, I think it's not that hard, because the
it's taking the link from the payload and showing it as a link.
Yep. True. The payload contains the information, just take it and then show it. Oops, that's wrong. Here we have Ermin. Many thanks for working on that one. Okay, then I think we have enough work assigned to the people. Otherwise, when you have still some time left, feel free to take a look into the backlog and to assign yourself to an issue and start working on that one. Cool. And when you want to get started with a good first issue, there are always a couple of issues further down here on the bottom. As I said, just take a look, assign yourself, and you can start working on it. Now we have 5 minutes left, and these 5 minutes I want to use for questions from the community. Please feel free to ask, as you now have the chance to talk to the developers and to get answers directly from the people who wrote the code or who are working on the project.
So it's only us.
It's only us. Okay, yeah, it's a couple of folks left during the meeting. That's okay. All right, then I think we are now at the end of today's community meeting, because there are no further agenda items here on the sheet, so that I will close it now and we'll say thanks for joining. See you next time and have a nice day. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.